Welcome back to the Gavel Gab podcast. Today, I'm chatting with the ultimate legal hype woman, Rebecca Paige Caplinger. She's the founder of Caplinger Consulting. Yes, thank you for being here. It is a firm dedicated to helping lawyers stop playing small and start building bold, aligned, and magnetic brands. With a background in law, a mind for strategy, and a heart for coaching, she empowers attorneys to ditch the burnout, reclaim their voice, and market like human beings because lawyers are human beings. She's also the face behind Sidebar with Beck, a must follow for real talk, unfiltered insights, and legal marketing tips. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was so beautiful. I'm like, me? Like little old me. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm super excited and just be able to yap, two little girls in law,
Absolutely. Well, I am going to start with the thing that's been hanging over you all summer. You just took the bar exam. Tell us how that was, and then just go ahead and give us the backstory.
Yeah, so all summer, I wish. Actually, a year and a half. Here we are. We're at a year now. I took it the first time. It was going through a lot of health issue. It's the same old, you fail, we'll retake. Well, last bar was the worst bar ever recorded, of course. So about a week before scores came out, we got the news that it was the worst. I said, I'm done for. I think I'm smart, not, February bar smart when it's the lowest percentage in 40 years. So I failed again, and this is my third time retaking. I think it's different every time you take it. You kind of get a different perspective every single time. I think this time I tutored differently. I studied differently. I've done a lot of research on my brain and on ADD in general, and I've been implementing those things. So we can hope, but I never claimed to be a test taker. I was always a writer. I just went to law school to write. I never wanted to be a test taker, and I hope to never have to take one again after this exam. So it's done, and hopefully, I'm just going to put it out there. We've passed, hopefully. Not licensed yet, don't sue me. But we are just going to put it in there that we passed, and I'm never taking it again. So
yes, we're manifesting. Well, I want to dive into, you said that you did a bunch of research and found kind of techniques for ADD, ADHD. I think a lot of test takers, lawyers, law students relate to that. I am ADD and ADHD and had to figure out, we are not designed to memorize things that take 3 years to learn for 2 days.
Right.
And so I was terrified of that. What did you do specifically? I think this is fantastic for people listening to know some tips and tricks.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. I actually got diagnosed very early, and back in my day, I, got diagnosed in 5th grade. And at the time, females really weren't diagnosed with ADD. And at the time, I was just seen as a rambunctious kid that liked to talk a lot. And, I was able to mask differently than I'm sure a lot of people relate to it. You're a girl and you're able to fit in and you look a certain way and talk a certain way, and people, I might have been annoying, but ADD wasn't on, everyone's heads. I was told very early about having ADD, which is genuinely a superpower now with the education that is out there. Sadly, I came also from parents who were like, life doesn't come with a plan, figure it out. So I really didn't start learning how to take tests until law school. So I have my master's, but I wrote all the time. I didn't ever take a test. So going to law school is scary. I started studying there. For me, I need to be active. I do not learn from reading. I do not learn from rewriting. I learn from any sort of activity. So how I've created my content and how I've monetized this content is using my study hack, which is I'm making content. What does that mean? I have to sit, I have to record it. I'm going to stumble on my words. I'm now saying it 3 times. I'm editing it. I have to now listen to it 3 times to make sure that it's going to be received well. I'm then posting it. Someone comments. I'm listening to it in the background. So I just used what worked for me, and that was my interest, right? So I know that my hyper focus right now is social media. So I just used that to my advantage and applied what I needed to know on social media. So you just use your own interests. Yeah, basically, if you're a swimmer, right, you go and you'll do a lap. And when you finish the first lap, you should have a rule in your head. By the time you get to the other side of the pool, repeat the rule. That way you're doing something you enjoy and you're able to implement, boring topics and fun things. I obviously don't want to be talking about the contracts clause on social media, right? And I'm studying this and this question, it came up. But I know that other people are going to listen to it. I'm able to help other people when they see it, and then it's helping me at the end of the day. My favorite thing is, how do you have time for social media when you're studying? Has anyone ever thought about using social media to study for the bar? This concept is, I don't know where we're getting lost in translation here, but that's kind of been how I've focused on my studying going forward is just using my interests, whether that be yoga, any sort of movement works for me. And just repetition of that same movement. People with ADD, I just got this wonderful ring. Okay, it's a little fidget ring. I used to break my fingers in half just scratching with anxiety and ADD, and now like the tools that people have now, we didn't have these things growing up. So like use them, use the stupid fidget toys. I got, this time approved for a pillow for my lower back, right? I just got in a car accident like a week before the bar. That's a whole other thing. So I got approved for an ice pack and a pillow. If you need the ice pack and the pillow, or you need something to make your testing experience better, I don't know why law schools have gatekeeped the never going to get approved for accommodations. We are in a different world. Yes, you are. Use them. Use what you need. And advocate for yourself. That's my advice.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was diagnosed in 6th grade, and so I had a very similar experience. And I was cracking up because I used to say this all the time. Like, as I was in college, I was like, I think I was really annoying. Like you said, I might have been annoying. And I was like, I was so annoying in middle school. I know that I was, and I could not help it. And so hearing you say that, I was like, wow, I've never related more.
No,
because
I think it comes from like a lot of,
right.
Like, and I think back then, I dealt with a lot of, I ended up getting bullied really badly. I left school. I was homeschooled my 3rd year of high school. I went to college during the day, homeschooled at night, went to college early because of, but looking back and when you reflect, it's like, oh, like I probably was just like a really annoying kid. And like, let me also mention that I wasn't like what I look like now, right? Like these kids now are very beautiful at all ages. I had a mouthful of metal and I was spitting on people when I talked. So I can imagine how annoying I really truly was. And I think, now that these kids are able and they're getting diagnosed so young and they have these plans, they know their study skills. Our age and generation were not given those skills growing up the same way that these kids are. It's like I have an app right now that translates all my notes into a podcast, an AI funny podcast. That's insane. Like that's going from back in the day, my mom making me rewrite things 1,000 times. It's unbelievable. And you just have to do what works for you and listen to your brain. It'll tell you.
The resources and tools are insane compared to what we have. The only thing that they really had was take medication. Whereas now there's so many ways. I love the example you gave with the pool. And yours, it's so different. And I was thinking about mine, and I thought it was just rewriting things, but I actually realized as we're talking, I love a flowchart checklist. Like I'm trying to build one for my new employee that's about to start for every area of law, for every document that needs to be done, when it needs to be reviewed. And so like I'm just like a method in a flow, which is really hard to do generally in law. It's also really hard to do for the bar exam, but that was what I did to study. And I thought all this time it was just repetition of writing, but it was me trying to create something I could follow in my own ADD brain instead of yoga or swimming. That was like my weird thing that I love to do, is like, how can I take this chaos and find a way to make it make sense?
Yeah.
There's a really great book. I don't know if you have heard of it. It's called ADHD is Awesome. And it's written by a guy with ADHD, but he's not a doctor, he's not a psychologist, but he has a lot of stuff that goes into it. And his wife also writes portions of it. And I highly recommend it. It's written for people with ADHD. It's colorful. It has all these little blurbs on the page. And my favorite part was I was reading it, and it was giving an example, a metaphor related to like whales and how big their blowhole is and all this stuff. And then the next paragraph goes, did you even read the sentence about the like all this stuff? It was like, no, you were thinking about whales. Go back and reread it. And I was like, I was thinking about whales. And so 10 out of 10, really recommend it for anybody. It's a fun read. It's easy. You can flip through to the things that you kind of want to look at, and there's things that I've kind of conquered and things that I still want to improve on without medication, and so I've kind of flipped through to be like, oh, that's a good idea. So highly recommend. Shifting gears, you've also started a business in addition to studying for the bar and finishing law school. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was working as, a judicial law clerk like most do out of law school. And, I started seeing, just like the judicial system. And, as much as I saw myself being a trial attorney and I wanted to go into criminal and family, that's kind of where all of my education, all my past employment lies, besides my little social media side business. I just kind of felt like there was a piece of me that was letting go of something that could have been really good. And I've always loved social media, and I've always had this weird relationship with it where I'd go on it, I would build accounts and then dip off of it because I would get scared, right? And I think that, growing up in our generation, that's like so valid because we see like what social media can do to people. And we know that our lives, my life is on social media from the time I was 11. And yes, that's a very scary thing, but I think you just have to kind of trust that like you have grown as a person and you're able to show that. And like we are educated, we're grown adults now. And like I think that the newer generation is going to become a lot more sensitive to that because, they are just coming on the internet and they're like, well, obviously, why would you say that online? There was no like rules back then. So none. Like Club Penguin, it was lawless, right? So well, I'm sorry. What I'm thinking about Club Penguin. What the hell?
I know that was a blast. That's the whale of this episode. That is such a blast from the past. And if you are listening and you don't know what that is, then you are not part of our generation.
You're actually too young for us.
You're either too young or too old.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was either. Starting the business.
Yes, starting business. So I started seeing. There we go. Wow, ADD right for early on in this episode. So I started, kind of just looking at social media again, and I didn't want to give it up. But as we know, when you work for the judiciary, they don't want you on social media. They don't want you having really any opinions because you're a part of a bigger thing than yourself, which I completely understand. That is not me. I am such an individual, and I personally felt like my individuality was being stripped away from me because I wasn't able to be who I was. Like, I wasn't able to go home and go online and I don't make a TikTok about my dog without someone from work seeing it and being like, saw you went viral, different places, different time and place. And so, after my judge ended up moving to a different division because someone retired, I was a floater. That was the best thing that ever happened to me because I had ample amount of time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was like, I've always loved social media and I can do this. Like, I built all these accounts. I've worked with these massive brands in law school. I've worked with Forged Irish Stout from Conor McGregor. And, I helped launch an entire activation of his alcohol in Philadelphia, and I was doing this while being a law student. And I was, managing these influencers and creating these groups and talking to businesses, creating relationships with owners and managers. And I realized I really sat in sales and marketing and business to business and, actually business to just normal people and your layperson because the law, they've tried to make the law so hard and it doesn't need to be. And I think that I really hated the gatekeepiness and the whole, well, we did it and you need to do it the same way. Like, why are we making people's lives harder? Why are we making the bar, like, and just the legal world so hard to get into? And, I think for me specifically with my business, it's just a beacon of hope that like, yeah, you can definitely go to law school and your version of being successful in that is different from every other person. And I think we're so pinned against each other. We're kind of bred to hate each other in law school as competition. And I kind of think that after COVID, it got 1,000 times worse. We went from not seeing anybody to getting in person. I don't trust anybody. I have a mask on. I can't see anybody's face. And I think we've lost firm culture. And I think that, being on social media and, helping these firms develop their own brand identities can really help bring that firm culture and bring people back to the office. Like, we need to look at this as like a business perspective, right? Like, why am I going to want to go work for the lawyer who has no idea what's going on in the world when it comes to, actual current events and what's, how to brand to their specific client? Now, that goes into who are you branding for? And, it goes into whether you're working with people who, social services wise, like, doing crim law, family law, that type of thing, workers' comp. Or, you have these big business to business where you're dealing with bankers and CPAs and people on that level. So I've interacted with people on all levels and I know I can talk to people. So I just capitalized off of my skills. And honestly, getting a law degree is what made people start taking me seriously in the worst way possible. And I know that, and you're a pretty girl, and you're going to understand this too, but being a pretty girl in this field is a shitty fucking thing sometimes because people treat you horribly. And it's not your peer. No, it's Betsy who's been at the office for 65 years. And just the level of hatred and I just see right through it because it's social media when I was getting attacked on Yik Yak and the Anon forums and and it's just, why are we making it like that? So I wanted to foster an environment that I could not only help people, these businesses really develop a culture and a real identity for themselves and be able to meet with clients, and also have bigger companies be able to speak with their bigger clients on a level that is engageable and also digestible. As lawyers, we kind of, like, I'm not a lawyer yet, but I'll keep saying it, not a lawyer, not licensed. As almost lawyer, we are able, and we have such a skill to be able to take really hard information and digest it. And that is a skill that people forget that we have. And I just capitalized off of it. And yes, now I have the legal degree. And yes, I'm a pretty girl and I'm finally getting taken seriously. I probably would work well in sales. Work with your assets, right?
Yeah.
So I would recommend, if you're in law school and you're like, I don't know what I want to do some soul searching. Really, what do you love about yourself? Like, where are you the most confident? For me, I love public speaking. I love doing podcasts, talking to people, being in big rooms. I know I need to be in the consulting sector. My dream of being a trial attorney, yes, I could do great with a jury, of course. But that's maybe not when I look this way and I talk this way and I have this energy about me. You can push it and still be successful, in your career. So that's why I started my company.
Love it. I think we align in a lot of ways. So, fun fact, I went to law school and never planned to be a lawyer. My background's actually in applied mathematics, and I thought I was going to be a data scientist, which...
We are different ADDs, baby.
Yeah, but what I wanted to do, like, everyone was like, why are you in law school if you don't want to be a lawyer? And I said, I want to do PR for some type of legal company, like Clio or Barbary. I wanted to be the face of a legal company, and I knew I couldn't get in but for that law degree. But it's really interesting. I don't talk about it often, but using your assets and being a young female in law, there are a lot of good things that come from that in life in general, not just law.
Oh, pretty privilege is real. Listen.
Yes, but I will never.
And I can attest to this. 2 nose jobs. I've had 2 nose jobs. I can talk about, the pretty privilege now because I have experienced both sides of it. That annoying little girl is that I have her same personality. I just look different now. And I try to tell people that all the time. So it was really hard for me, developing like certain friendships, because it's like, I've had these people in my life, but then they ended up kind of being my biggest haters and my biggest enemies and the people hating on me the most. And it's a really, really secluding feeling, and not to play like pity old me, blonde, pretty girl cries because her life is hard. But it's a struggle that people don't ever feel comfortable talking about. And I always talk about, Paris Hilton is my idol and my dream, because she's such a brilliant woman. And she, walked into these rooms with these men talking and looking the way she did because she knew she had to be listened to. But she had such a brain behind her. And I think that's kind of lately that's hot has been my forte, my little what I'm going with my life, because you can look a certain way, you can act a certain way. There's a switch in everybody. You have to use your asset. It sucks. I hate saying it. It's the most narcissistic thing, but it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Yeah. Use your assets.
And so I will never forget this instant. I was going in to interview for an internship in intellectual property. Again, remember, I have an applied mathematics degree. I worked at General Electric.
Yeah.
I am who you're looking for, okay? Right. I also have a personality, which, that area of law is not known for that.
Right.
So I remember I walked in and I think I wore a black dress. I think I considered pink, and by God, I'm so glad I didn't do it. I was also bleach blonde at the time. I used to do pageants, so I know how to, I didn't do, it wasn't cakey, but I did my makeup.
You know how to look good.
Dressed to the nines. Right. And I remember I left that interview. It went great. I got in the car, I called my mom, and I also, from doing pageants, I did 500 plus interviews over time. So I know a good interview when I see it. But I got in the car and I called my mom and I said it was great. She goes, awesome. I said, I'm not going to get it. She goes, I don't understand. I said, the second they saw me, they did not take me seriously. We had great conversation. I answered everything perfect, but there was just something about those 3 men that I was like, I don't even think I'll hear back from them. And I didn't. I had to reach out 3 times, and the paralegal finally was like, they went with someone else. And it was a male that I knew at my law school. And again, it had nothing to do with not getting it. It was completely the way they treated me. And I knew. And I was like, I'm never doing full makeup for these interviews. I'm dressing down. I'm not going through this again. And so that was so disheartening. But now what I love is I needed the approval then, because I needed the job. Now that I have my own firm and that I'm confident in who I am, And I was confident then. I don't regret anything about it, but I'm like, that's such a shame. And I'm never doing that to anyone else. And so I never judge a book by their cover.
Love
and
it.
I wear pink to court all the time. I dress to the nines. And I'm like, if a judge don't like it, that's silly because I'm going to start talking and they're going to see that
They're
they
gonna
need to
listen.
take me seriously for what I
Yes.
present, not how I look. And to me, that's better. I see
Right.
people walk in disheveled and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, which would you prefer? Which would
Exactly,
you
and
prefer?
it's so funny when you see, the attorneys and the lawyers who, they're wearing tennis shoes to court and they're all beat up and they have holes in it, and it's like if I walked in, and I walk in without makeup and I look tired, but I walk in too, you can never win, and it's the same thing as the Barbie movie. It's that we could go through the same story 1,000 times how women are treated. Like you can never do anything right, and
Yeah.
I think that I have personally and you'll understand this. Your 3 years of law school is such a growth journey, right? Like the person you go in and the person even a year out. I'm a year out, and I am like a completely different person. And you look back and you can reflect on a lot of like the way you've acted in the way of you can have accountability, but looking back again, I don't regret anything. I've never done anything to harm people intentionally. I try to live my life like how I would want to be treated, but sadly, sometimes it just comes with a lot of shit. And when you look a certain way and you act a certain way and you have confidence, what did Abby Lee Miller say? You're pretty or blonde, they're going to hate you. Yeah, you're pretty or blonde, they're going to hate you. And I wish that I had my mom, always, I could say, I wish my mom said this. She did say this, and you don't want to hear it from your mom. But if you're ever feeling like you're in a situation, and you're relating to this at all, just really, that is the most true thing I've ever heard. And I never believed it until I almost hit 30. At almost 30 years old, you finally, as you said, I'm free of people's opinions. I don't need people's approval. I'm not in school anymore. I'm not getting bullied. I don't care really about my social media online. I post and I'm off of it. I don't even care about a hate comment. That's not who I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I think I have just gotten to such a point of self-peace that I just genuinely don't care what anybody else thinks. And people told me this your whole life, you get to a certain age and it switches. And I just wish it would have happened sooner. Stop caring. Do what makes you feel hot. I looked good at the bar exam. I had full hair and makeup done at the bar exam. I try to say, you already know people were what? Look good, feel good, perform well. I don't know.
Yes!
What do you want from me?
I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
thing.
And I will tell you, this is the craziest thing. I mean, there's so many people taking the bar exam. The rooms are gigantic. And I dressed up both days. And I will tell you, a guy I dated and then got ghosted by was literally one table away. And I mean, not to be mean, but he gained a bunch of weight. And I looked super cute in my cute little outfit. I was like, you have to look at me at the whole bar exam. And I got home and was like, I'm so glad. Look good, feel good. It was for me. But the benefit, the little side benefit of that was, I felt good all day. Every time I walked in and out of breaks, I was like, this poor man has to look at
Everyone's
me.
looking at me. I am the biggest deal right now.
He did reach out after.
No one-
He reached out after. I was
Good,
like, I know I looked cute. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Did you check it out? Did you clock how good I'm looking lately? The bar, and it's so funny because for us, we're just after the bar exam, because people don't understand how stressful it is. So the other people, they're like, what do you mean? We're like, no, it's 8 weeks of literal hell. So the body changes too. People don't realize, take care of yourself, man. Stress in this field. I mean, we could talk about that girl in New York, and I feel horrible, and God bless that girl, and I hope she's okay. Because the stress that this field causes is disgusting. But going back to what you said, I think you kind of figured it out. I started getting ready for me. I started posting for me. I'm not posting for the approval of other people. And I think that's really just, once you stop living your life for literally anybody else, your parents, yourself, your siblings, not yourself, but for only yourself, you are you're so free. And free will is great because after you don't care, what's stopping you? And that's, going back, it's kind of why I started my business. It's kind of everyone wants to start a business. Why am I going to sit here and be another one? I want to start a business. No, I'm going to enact the business. I'm going to begin the business. Going back to the ADD is a superpower thing, real quick, if we could jump into something real fast.
Go.
I always say that in my interviews, and for anybody with ADD out there, I recommend saying this in your interviews. It has worked every single time. It is such a little, heartstring puller. When they ask you what your, advantages, not disadvantage.
Weakness?
Weakness, there it is, thank you. When they ask you what your biggest, cut that, restart, I can speak, I promise. Sorry, editors, I have a brain in there, I just not passport, I just took it and I have no brain. Oh, I left my keys in my car. So, what the hell was I just saying? Help.
Interview. Greatest weakness.
Restart.
Say this.
Cut.
Okay.
So, When you are in an interview and you have ADD and they ask you what your biggest weakness is, you are going to say, I always like to say that my biggest weakness is that I have anxiety and ADD, but I always follow it up and say, but that's also my superpower. Then they ask, what do you mean? Well, ADD is basically like I have 4,000 filing cabinets in my head at all time, processing about 4,000 different things all at once, right? And it's really hard for me to sit there and file through those filing cabinets. With the anxiety, I'm so scared of failure that I must finish all filing cabinets, right? So in reality, like I get my work done quick and I get it done well because I'm so anxious but I might have 6 projects being done at one time. No one else's life is affected by this except for you. And when you say that in an interview, they love to hear it. You are productive. You have a superpower of being so anxious about your work not being too, but in reality, it does apply. That is and people forget that your disability is honestly one of your best abilities. And I believe that a lot of time people with anxiety and ADD, we hold a lot of intuition. And when we look at people, we can feel things. That in the legal field is going to be the biggest thing moving forward. AI, your number 1 and number 50 in your class are now the same person, buddy. Your legal essay means shit. So you better start being nice to people, learning how to communicate nicely and talking to people, learning those networking skills, learning how to get yourself in rooms because everybody's essays are going to look the same. I give it 5 years. Yep. AI is going to get so good. We are not going to be able to tell the difference between an AI written paper and a regular written paper. So I say if you go to an interview, your biggest weakness, you have ADD and anxiety. Your ADD makes you a chattermouth. You love to collaborate. You love to talk to people. Sometimes I talk too much, I'll admit, and that's your weakness. But on the positive, that shows that you know how to collaborate with a team. You're willing to work with people. You're sociable. And that's how you have to start talking about yourself and your disability. And when you start really honing in on your assets, that's when you start seeing success. Yeah. It's crazy.
That is a very eloquent way to put it. I love it. I actually used to do interview consulting and coaching for a bit. We chatted before we started the podcast and I, did some law stuff. Then I hopped around. So I actually took a year off law and just did random consulting and interviews were part of it. And I always told people when you get the weakness question, because they almost always ask it. They really love that question. There's so many better questions out there, but they love it. I'm like, whatever. And I tell everybody, because not everyone's weakness is the same, but I'm like, whatever your weakness is, you find a way when you finish explaining to make it a strength, because you want to actually give a weakness. It's pretty disingenuous to not do it.
I have nothing.
So you've got to say something is a problem, but how you have in your own character arc of your life have made it into your strength. And so I think the anxiety and the ADD is so prevalent among lawyers. So if lawyers are listening, that was a great way to say it. I usually say that I have too many tabs open I have a window with 1,000 tabs. I like the file cabinet a little bit better because if you're talking to older lawyers, they're going to get that a little bit more. Cabinet. It's a little more vivid. But that is a good segue. I have a question for you. You've kind of talked about it a little, but what advice do you have for lawyers that want to be on social media? They understand it's important, but they are afraid to be seen a lot of times by people they know, or in general, and they're also afraid of being cringe. So, for me personally, I've gotten over both of these things. I don't care.
Right.
But it took me a while to get over feeling like I was being cringy. And I love hearing the perspective from other people, especially someone that knows what they're talking about. So if you could give advice, this is almost all lawyers.
Yeah, at least in my experience. This actually might be everyone, influencers, whatever you want to do. If you want any sort of social media presence, I will say this, right? Social media is cringy. Social media sucks. I hate social media, but listen, we got to do what we got to do to make it in this world, right? And, it's fun and it can be fun. There's a lot of negatives. That being said, if you are not unique and you just follow everybody else, you are going to delay your success, right? If people are talking about you, it's working. If people are calling you cringy and sending your stuff around, guess what? That's pushing it on the algorithm. Keep talking about me. And that engagement, babe. So that took a long time, and when I first started making content, I was like, oh my God, people are sending out my stuff. They're talking about me. Now I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about me. They've seen my stuff. I wonder who else has seen my stuff. And I think yes, do I know I have these people who definitely don't like me and definitely hate my content? For sure. But I think it's just the fact that I'm not really bothering anybody. I'm doing my own thing. I'm not harming anyone. As long as you're not harming anyone, you're having fun with it. what do you have to lose? Like you being more transparent on social media is going to make you have more parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships equals trust. If you want your clients to trust you, it's just another avenue for them to feel like they know you a little bit better. And I feel like after COVID, we've really lost that. So I think, really just going in on social media, it's like a LinkedIn. I keep telling people, everybody has an Instagram. Why are we not making a professional Instagram? Like I have my sidebar with Beck, which is my professional Instagram. That is where I get my engagement. I have a Finsta with my friends on it. I have my friends and they see my background of life, but it's just another tool like LinkedIn is. And when I go up to, a younger attorney and I'm like, hey, you have an Instagram? Yeah, no, who's checking their LinkedIn every day? No one. But everyone checks their social media. And I know that sidebar with Beck, I'm posting daily. So I think that it's just another tool for businesses to use. And I think depending on how much you want to show yourself, you don't even have to show yourself anymore. There's AI influencers now. So, don't be afraid, lean into it. Do what's cringy, and if people are talking about you, it's working. And I have found success in my own path, and I think that if you lean into yourself, that's the only way you'll find success. If you try to copy anybody else, if you try to be another person, if you try to make content that's not something you're actually interested in, you will never be successful, ever. It has to be, my videos, I'll spend hours editing. 0 views. I spend 2 seconds post. That's the one that goes viral. And that's
every time. Every time.
You have to not. I think the thing with lawyers too, it's like we care so much about outcomes, okay? Mm-hmm. Outcomes. We care about the outcome of a case. We care about the outcomes of a test. We care about the outcomes of this. The outcome of how a client feels. There's so many outcomes. And with social media, I think the reason it scares all of us is there's really no tangible outcome that we can see right away. Mm-hmm. And I think that scares people. Lean into it. It comes with time, but you have to just go with the times. It's just, this is the new age and it's fucking scary, but it's a really, really great business tool. And I will also mention Reddit there because that is an up and coming that I am getting into. So if you're looking into business stuff, I would start looking on Reddit. That's my piece of advice.
Perfect segue. What platforms are you loving right now, and what trends are you seeing that lawyers should not sleep on?
Yeah, Reddit. Yeah, Reddit's great. Obviously, every lawyer loves a Reddit, right? We're on our little Reddit pages, the bar exam page, if you're Go Bar Prep, whatever you're using, right? Everyone has a Reddit page. I have found that Reddit pages are such a good way to learn about trends within the community, right? And we learn about how different advertisements are working. And if you really start diving deep into the lawyer's brain, you can really get good insight of how then to take that and bring that onto a different platform. So it's just a good way to have people throw ideas at each other. And it's anonymous, which is, well, obviously you can always be tracked, so be smart. But you're not really putting yourself out there. You're kind of just spitballing ideas. So there's no losses because your brand's not in the face of it. And you're kind of just able to test the market without actually diving into it, if that makes sense.
Well, that is a takeaway for me today. Had not thought of that. So I'm going to have to do that. So last substantive question. How do you balance your own brand and your business and client work and social life? So work-life balance. Yeah. We kind of chatted offline about this. Maybe it doesn't exist, but what are the ways that you prioritize the different segments in your life, and how would you recommend really busy, ambitious entrepreneur to do that?
Yeah. So also, we could literally have like a full 3-hour podcast, I swear to God, but I dealt with a lot of health issues too in law school. So that's a journey I talk about a lot. I have EDS, it's an autoimmune disease. I was in a really stressful, toxic, abusive relationship. I was having cortisol issues. And I ended up gaining 50 pounds in about 2 months. And it was like the most horrendous thing I've ever experienced. At that time, between law school and the relationship I was in, I was going to have a stress stroke. So when I say to people, you really need to take care of your body, your health, who's in your life. Like, it is so important. Stress will kill you. What do I do every single day? I start my day with meditation. It is so stupid. I know we go to the doctor. It's stress. Meditate. Do yoga. I have found that every morning just sitting there and moving my body and breathing and just kind of releasing thoughts has really helped me start my day on a good mindset, right? So that's kind of helped me lower my cortisol right in the morning. You get that jump when you wake up, kind of brings you back to fuel. On top of that, I got a puppy. So on top of me being crazy, I got a puppy 2 days after the bar exam. So if you want to follow him on TikTok, his name is Shot of Rumples. The other dog is Law Dog Cosmo. He was on Good Morning America, so please go check him out. But he is a Rottweiler St. Bernice. What am I saying? Rottweiler Bernese Mountain Dog. And he is going to be a service dog for victims eventually, especially child victims. I worked with them when I was doing internet crimes against children. And I would love for my doggy to be with them in court. So I want to document his journey becoming a service dog for child victims. So please follow along. He's going to be so fun to watch. And he's kind of like a Juris Dogder in a way, like a little.
I love it. I lied. I have one more substantive question.
That's fine.
So I struggle to answer this one, so it's fine if this is like all over the world because I think it will be for you the same it is for me. What is the ultimate vision? So you've got social media, we've manifested passing the bar, law license, getting into practice. I know you mentioned being in family law previously. You've got all these different, you're so multi-talented. What is the vision? And I hate using the 5-10 years, but like, where do you want this to go? And you'll be like, yeah. That was exactly how I envisioned it, and I've like made it.
Yeah, so I think right now, in total, this is kind of just brand development, right? So when you take all of this at the end of the day, it's brand development, it's client relations, right? Those are very, very good skills in the corporate world, right? Whether that's in any sort of corporate world, I have the legal degree, I have the education, and now I'm getting hands-on skills experience, right? So regardless of what this is in 5 years, I know that I'm getting really good skills experience. I know that I can apply it to a lot of different parts in my life. And I think as I change, as my vision changes, as I grow, as I do want a family. I know that in the next 5 years, I know I want kids. I know I want to be married. And, I have the personal side. And I think that for me, being happy is now, I've never in my life, I've always school and education. I'm at a point, I want peace. I want happiness. I want, ooh, that was cute. I want I'm like, oh, slay. I just want it to be peaceful. And, if that means, this takes off and, these clients are really, I have good clients coming in. I have a basis already and it's just started. And if this gets bigger than me, maybe I could start a company. And if I can, help even bring in people who need internships, legal content internships, we can digest this information, And so I think that just being able to give back, if I was able to, hire people and make this bigger, I think that it's just, an industry that is tapped into right now, but I think it's not tapped in by the people that actually live and breathe social media. It's tapped in by corporate marketers, not the people who are Gen Z, millennial hybrids who also have a legal degree. And I think that's where I separate myself. So hopefully maybe 5 years I have an employee or two. And we're just continuing to, do what we love. Maybe bring on some influencers. Who knows? Probably be on social media. So sadly, I'll probably still be there. So not going anywhere.
Well, I look forward to watching it evolve and grow. I know when I call it a multi-potentialite, it's a great TED Talk if you haven't heard of it or listened to it. I think that that's you. And when I talk to people that are multi-potentialites, I'm like, in 2 months, you could have a whole nother business. Like, I would not be surprised. And so, but I think it's that beautiful area of being able to pivot. And most people in the legal profession with that legal background, they're not able to pivot. They're not able to see the big picture and be flexible. But that offers us so much range to do anything that comes to mind that we're like, wait, this is a good idea. This is a niche that I can invest in, and I have the skill set for.
Was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not failing it once, failing it twice was the best thing that ever happened to me. The first time I failed, I went viral on TikTok and solidified myself on Legal Talk. The second time I went viral, I've now developed a story of a girl trying to make it and pushing, and everybody loves a good story of somebody and a comeback and finally succeeding. Sometimes your biggest failures is your biggest blessings. And if I would have passed right off the bat, I don't think I would have ever gotten to the level that I'm at now. I don't think I would be talking and in the rooms I'm in. I think I needed to fail, and I think I needed to show people it's okay to fail, because that's what separated me. So that is my advice to leave with. Just your failures might honestly be your biggest blessings. Yeah. I had the reign, the freedom. What do I want to do? I get to decide now. School, we never got that. We were in school our whole lives. So I think finally getting that freedom, it sometimes just take a year.
The power of perseverance is one of the most influential story types out there. And I thank you for sharing with the world, because not to get into a
We're gonna be
whole
best
nother
friends.
side tangent.
We're literally gonna do this again, and we're just gonna continue talking. Like,
Exactly.
honestly, we're gonna hang this up and be like, "Hey, girls." So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so my little side thing is when I competed in pageants, I lost 41 times in a row on stage, 41 times over 5 years. Did not win once. And so I remember like the first 10, I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, I just don't even want to post about it. I don't want anyone to know. The next 10 were pretty bad. And it was like after I got to like 30, I'm like, this is comical. And also, I can't be the only one. I do think that I have like the world record. Like, the closest I've heard is 28. And I'm 41. So I'm the world record, like most losses in a row in the Miss America organization. If someone wants to fact check me, fine. But I have not found evidence to say otherwise.
I would
like
monetize
I started
the fuck out of that.
Yeah, I started really telling that story. I was like, oh, boo-hoo, I lost. Yeah, I'm like, boo-hoo, you lost twice? Come on now. Like and I tell people all the time, it has shaped my personality, my perspective. Like when I started a business, people are like, oh, it's a bad time to start a business, the economy, this, that, and the other. I'm like, do you think I'm scared to fail? Like,
my whole life has been me just getting pounded to the ground. I'm just gonna get up and keep trying till it works.
Yeah.
So if this is it, then like I'm gonna keep the passion going.
Yes.
Like you gotta just roll with the punches. And I think people, you know, like you who have, you know, you've seen failure just like over and over, and like me, everyone has seen failure. But even though like you were up on stage 41 times, you had to perform 41 times, you had to get over stage fright 41 times. Do you realize that like when you go into like that's, or like you're going to court, that's your stage?
Yeah. I've told people, I'm like,
stage, right?
You think I'm scared of a judge? In pageants, I got asked in an interview by 5 people what my thoughts were on abortion when I was 19 years old. I'm sorry,
like,
I
you think I care
prepared
about this judge. Right.
Yeah, I'm like,
you think I'm scared? You think I'm scared? Wait, I was getting fat shamed at 14. So what are we talking about?
I'm like, a courtroom
I was like
is
restricting myself to be really pretty and then being judged on my prettiness at a young age. Your opinions do not affect me.
Yeah.
You are the hardest breed of people. I love pageants. I'm a toddlers and tiara lover and stan. In another life I was a pageant girl. But I was a girl from New Jersey and my parents were from Ohio. Never. But I love it. I think that it really did. I could just see it off of you, you know, just the way that you like exude it. And like, it's just, and even, wow, the psychology of a pageant person, I would love to dive into. So stay tuned for the psychology of a pageant person.
Don't you worry. I have an episode coming up because I think pageantry pivoting to law, I know so many people I've competed with that are now in law school, and I'm like, it is a direct correlation to what happens if you're a litigator.
Musical theater too. I was on stage crew. I was in musical theater. I lived the life. The director's judge is nothing compared to a choir director in a high school. Okay, like there is just, we have lore for days. I can't wait to listen to it. Thank you so much again. Us being like, let's end up at 5:45.
Yeah.
We're best friends.
But we will skip the lightning round because we have had so much great content, and I thank you so much for the time being here today. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you on the socials and the platforms, and then we will wrap up.
Okay, just thank you again. Like, you're great. You're such a little like girly pop bestie, and I can't wait for us to continue being friends. Anyway, if you want to be my friend, you can follow me on Sidebar with Beck on TikTok and on Instagram. You can follow the doggy on Shot of Rumples and Law Dog Cosmo. And then my website is Caplinger Consulting. So, you know, if you know anybody that's kind of starting a law firm, they need some help with brand development, logo, website, synergy, going from social medias, going to commerce, going back to client retention, you can reach me on Caplinger Consulting, Caplinger, consulting.com. And you send me an email, and I am on my phone all the time. So I'll probably answer you in 15 seconds. But again, thank you so much for having me. This was such a good break to my work day. So back to work. And I hope you love your podcast. I've been watching your episodes. I hope you have the biggest success with it, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Until next time. Bye, guys.